Today I'm in Barnstable, a small town in the north of the county of Devon. Devon's in the southwest of the UK. The cemetery stretches from this Bear Street entrance down into the small valley there, and then up the other side where all the modern burials take place. I've never explored this cemetery before, so we're just going to ramble through it and pick out anything interesting we come across. We're greeted by this little angel, or maybe a cherub, with the flowers in one hand and holding up the edge of her dress with the flowers contained in that. See, there's a cross around her neck. I don't know if I can get a picture of her face. Right here by the entrance is this tall obelisk, and the inscription at the bottom: Richard Farley, 1817-1883. This monument was erected by the members of the Barnstable Freehold Land Society to show their appreciation for the service rendered by him as secretary of their society from its commencement and for a period of 33 years. A sturdy monument here with the cross and the anchor and chain beneath it. Normally use the anchor to express hope, but this one with the chain, I notice it's got a broken link at the bottom. Whether that's significant or whether that's happened over the years, I'm not clear. A lovely example of the stonemason's art here. The cross, but brought out in relief are these leaves and flowers draped over it and down through it. Very cleverly done. And the bottom, it's Mary Ann and then Samuel Channings. Nearby is this cross, and again very carefully carved on the front of the cross are these leaves, very delicately done. At the bottom we have a inscription to John Paulin Easton, entered into rest 1888, aged 26 years. A very solid block of stone here, as deep as it's wide, and the inscription is as a scroll carved out of it. And this is to William Augustus Pengelly, a good Cornish name, beloved husband of Annie Pengelly, aged 35 years in 1891. A substantial tomb here. Mary Jane Gregory, only daughter of the late Robert Gregory, merchant of this town. And she died in 1864, aged 45. We have this elaborate design here, something we do come across in the cemeteries, but it still takes a lot of work to make it. And this one is to William Britton of Barnstable. And you can see within those pillars is a vase which has been tipped over, was fallen over. Difficult to know how you would in fact get it out or repair it, because the columns are in the way of doing that. A very large and solid table tomb here. Mary Sutcliffe, daughter of John Sutcliffe and Mary his wife. She died in 1866, aged 70. And this one here in a polished granite stone. It does have inscriptions on the panels, two on the front, two on the back. not easy to read. You could probably work it out if you tried very hard. Over at the side here we have two great slabs of stone. One on the left is to Mary Ann Curtis, and the one on the right is to Charles Edward Northcote. Quite unusual as a graveyard memorial. In the corner is this big tomb. Interesting, a number of inscriptions on it, but here is to Grace Roberts, his second wife's mother, his second mother-in-law presumably. She died 1826, aged 75. And then underneath is Gertrude Hawkridge Roberts, his second wife's sister. And there's another inscription over there, and more on the far side. On top of this large block of stone we have a stylized cross, and again we've got carved in relief on it flowers draped around the cross. The inscription down here on this side is Richard Jeeve, the son of William and Frances Raffarel. And as I pan round, I see there's a war grave there. We'll do a closer look at that one. One from the First World War. Sergeant Major. There's S Sergeant Major, so presumably Staff Sergeant Major. W. Prance, Army Service Corps, 1917, age 32. Nice little epitaph on here for Doris Frances Hatton, the brave, unselfish and loving wife. You'll probably gather from the pictures that it's actually drizzling with rain here. It's very damp, not at its best, and the ground is very wet underfoot. Here we've got a little child angel, hands clasped together, and underneath it's in sweet remembrance of Nancy, the child of Seward and Florence Payne, who died in 1937, aged just 4 years. Second World War grave here. Flying Officer W.E. Cater, who was a pilot, RAF, 1941, aged 42. A very elaborately carved cross here, still inside the metal railings. The cross itself, all the way down, there are actually words, or were words, carved into that. At the top, although that top piece looks as though it's moved, very insecure. Unfortunately, the name is not easy to see. It appears to be Lucy somebody, but I may be wrong on that. A large figure here, which looks to be that of Jesus, with his hands open, but on his chest looks to be his heart on his chest and radiating. Here's one to the nuns, the Marist sisters, R.I.P. And down here on the stone we have Mother St. Basie, Sister St. Ita, Mother St. Michael, Sister St. Kilian. Some amazing decoration on this one. We've got the two angels, and they seem to be lifting up this lady underneath. And down at the bottom she has her feet on a cloud. Beautifully carved. And if we go down to the bottom, we see the inscription is in loving memory of Alice, the wife of Richard Peath Johns, 1919. This one here has been encased behind a perspex screen. Now that can't have been original. We didn't have perspex when the last burial in here in 1909. It is to the family of Shapland. Shapland is a very well-known family in the Barnstable area. There are quite a number of them around, business people. Very large and solid table tomb here. The inscription on it is to John Stanton, 1800 to 1865, and his wife who died in 1887. This one here is to John Marks Evans, late Congregational Minister of Newton and Mumbles in Glamorganshire, 1815 to 1878. Back up here by the Bear Street Road, you may hear the traffic passing. There's several large memorials. Lovely cast railings around this one, wrought iron, cast piers. Harriet, the wife of William Sanders. This one is to the Reverend Richard May of the Baptist Church, many years the pastor of Bowerport Street. That's only just down the road from here. Bowerport Street in Barnstable. Well, despite the mizzle and a little bit of traffic noise, it's a very lovely spot here. Something a little different here. It's the base of a column, and on top is an urn, and draped across it is a cloth. A solid piece of stone. The names are not readable, unfortunately. And you wonder what mysteries lie beneath all this ivy, which has completely covered this tomb. I have this angel here, wings spread. The one wing on the one side is broken now. Again, so carefully carved out of the stone. The surname down there is Ridge. There's one to William Bryant, who died in 1935. And if you look at the design of the stone, very much in the Art Deco design. Geometric shapes, straight edges. This one has toppled, unfortunately, so we'll pick up the inscription because it's likely to deteriorate very quickly now it's horizontal. Burton Llewellyn Harding, youngest son of the Reverend John Harding, a Wesleyan minister. That's Methodist. Born 1856 and died at Launceston, Tasmania in 1890, and was interred from the SS Astral in the Mediterranean. So they took him on board the ship. It looks like he was on the ship for about 8 weeks, and on the way back they gave him a sea burial. One here, a little curious about. The name at the bottom here is Arthur Wharton Le Marchand, and then after that the initials WES, and I'm not sure what that stands for. He died in 1923, aged 56. A war grave here. H. Emery, Yeoman of Signals, Royal Australian Navy, 1918. A different design on this one. We have a angel, wings spread, peering over the top of a book. And the book itself is behind a sort of stone wall. Selina Maud, wife of Alfred Allen. Now over here I'm seeing 4, 5 war graves. So let's have a quick look at each of those. This is Air Mechanic J. Bowden, Royal Air Force, 1919. T.E. Mitchell, able seaman, SS Arundel Castle, 1941, age 36. Up at the top there you've got MN, which I assume is Merchant Navy. Private W.H. Jewell of the Devonshire Regiment, 1920, age 33. Here we've got Air Mechanic W. Dack, Royal Air Force, 1920, age 47. Fifth one here is Sapper L.E. Passmore of the Royal Engineers, 1940, aged 25. And the drizzle has stopped and the sun has come out. And down here we have 12, 15 war graves. I won't show you all the war memorials, but I've picked this one as Pilot Officer R.W. Hopkins, Royal Australian Air Force, 1941, age 23. And this one here is a little unusual. It's unnamed. It's an airman of the Second World War of the Royal Air Force, who was buried in 1942. No name. You can't help but wonder about the story behind that. What a difference the sun makes. We always like a good angel. This one's in a bit of a fixed pose with the hands, palms of the hands showing. But it has wings, so I'm assuming it's an angel, although it might be a depiction of Jesus Christ. Three identical horizontal tombs here, and they appear to be for various members of the Thomas family. William John Thomas, Francis Arthur Claude Thomas, and so on. I hadn't realised that right down the bottom of the dip of this graveyard appears a little stream. It comes out of a conduit there, and in a short distance, 20 yards, 30 yards, it disappears into another conduit. I think in the distance there across the graveyard it does exactly the same thing. It looks as though it appears for a short distance and then disappears again. This is a section beyond the stream, the newer section, which goes back up the hill towards Derby Road, and the newer graves are here. To show you this one, David Woodbridge, who was 24 years old when he died in 1991. And on the reverse of the stone, Love is Love and Not Fade Away, a very well known song by the Rolling Stones, Not Fade Away. Up in this newer part of the graveyard, many of the graves have flowers on to show that they're being attended to. People come here. Everywhere I look, there are flowers on this. I don't think I've seen a graveyard with so many flowers on stones. And just look at the number of graves which have been attended with flowers. We've seen a number of angels. This one here is a little different. She's appears to be sleeping on top of this stone. One here with the Manchester United Football Club insignia at the top. Anthony George Barrow. Well, I'm going to call that a day. Up there you see the old part of the graveyard where we started, the bit where you come in from Bear Street. And now I've gone down into the dip across the brook. I'm now in the newer section. It's interesting. You always leave a graveyard with one particular memory. And here, it has to be the number of graves that have had flowers put on them. It is just more than I've seen at any other graveyard. Well, that was Barnstable, and till the next time.